Boy, I don't know about you guys, but that was exhausting. That was exhausting, and all I did was watch. I can't imagine actually being the players on the ice for this game. A 5 overtime playoff game that unfortunately resulted in the Tampa Bay Lightning knocking off the Blue Jackets in game number 1. Gotta say though, you know what? We gotta witness history, right? No matter how this season ends, it was a history-making night. Columbus versus Tampa Bay, but it's crazy. You go back and think about what if Corpy didn't kick that one puck into the back then. He thought he had it covered, did a good job of containing it. Unfortunately, it squeaked loose, bumped it in the back of the net there. But I mean, you can't to think about that. That was crazy because Korpisalo just played outstanding in this game. 85 saves. Man, it was phenomenal. Gotta be honest, he was getting close to 100. That's all I was thinking. I was like, you know, let's get the guy to 100, right? Let's get Corpy 100. How crazy would that have been? 100 save playoff game for Joonas Korpisalo. That would have been wild. Didn't happen. Unfortunately, Blue Jackets couldn't come out with a W here. But I mean, you look at how Korpisalo played. Seth Jones played 65 minutes in this game, and I think everything that, or the last thing that's on, or the first thing that's on everyone's mind here, I should say, at the end of this game is the no penalty call on the Atkinson breakaway. The Atkinson breakaway kind of gets held up a little bit there by Hedman. And here's my thoughts on this penalty call. And my only issue, I'm not a person that likes to blame penalties on games, because at the end of the day, I mean, for the most part, you can look at it from both sides. Both teams can always say, well, that should have been a penalty. That should have been a penalty, right? It's easy to just point out and see the penalties that your team didn't get. And it's easy to just blame that on the outcome of the game. So I'm never a big fan of blaming penalties on a game unless it's, you know, just so blatantly bad that it should have been called or wasn't called. But here's the problem with this one. The Blue Jackets' last power play was in the 3rd period. All right. And you know what? The ref said let them play. And I, again, love it. Love it. You get to overtime. The last thing you want to do is have a penalty dictate the outcome of the game that was, you know, could have just been played through. It didn't really have an effect on the game. But the thing with that is the Blue Jackets went 5 periods, no penalties. Tampa Bay, 2 power plays for the Tampa Bay Lightning. And were they penalties? Hey, sure, I'm not going to argue that, right? But at the end of the day, if you're going to give one team penalties, you got to give the other. If you're going to give power play to say, you got to give the other one, because there's no doubt in my mind that Tampa did not just play 5 perfect periods without taking a penalty. Not to mention, you would have thought it was in the back of the ref's mind after giving the power play to the Tampa Bay Lightning on a slashing that wasn't even from a Columbus Blue Jacket player earlier in that game. Hard to believe that was the same game there. But we'll go back to the tit for tat thing, right? If you're going to call it on one team, call it on the other. Cam Atkinson had that breakaway, didn't get it earlier in the game. I don't even remember who it was now. Who in the heck? It was Seth Jones got called for it, right? It was a breakaway for Tampa. He got called for a similar call on the hold there, and they got the penalty. They got the power, or it was 4-on-4, right? I think it was a 4-on-4 there. It was right after the Blue Jackets had it, and they got the puck. It ended up killing off their potential power play there. But if you're going to call it one way, you got to call it the other. I'm perfectly fine with them not calling it. They're not going to call the first one. Perfectly fine with them calling it. They're going to call that one. At the end of the day, though, five overtime periods, right? Again, should have been called probably, but you had 5 overtime periods to put a puck in the back of the net, and it didn't happen. So again, it's hard to blame the referees when you had 5 periods to try and score here. But I'm thinking more long-term here for these Blue Jackets. One thing the Blue Jackets do very well is play through adversity. Like we've seen with Seth Jones in the Toronto series. He made a mistake, went back, scored a goal right or shortly after. We've seen it last season. We've seen it throughout this entire season. This team loses big guys, and they play through the adversity and play really well and win games. That doesn't even make logical sense. I don't think so, but it sounded good. Not really. Didn't really sound good either. I'm gonna be completely honest. But we bring that up because I feel like this is one of those games where the winner was gonna win the series. It really felt like it when you play 5 overtime periods. Both sides are completely gassed. The winner, and felt like there's just going to be a lot of momentum, and I wonder if it's something the Blue Jackets can overcome. And more importantly for the Blue Jackets, this was essentially them playing. It was essentially 4 games in 6 days, plus an overtime, plus 5 overtime period. They essentially played in the overtime periods plus Toronto. They've essentially played 6 games now in 6 days, 6 games worth of playtime at least in 6 days. And you've seen it in the third period. You've seen it in that first overtime where Tampa Bay was taking over the game. Not because I wouldn't say they was the completely better team as much as I would just say that the Blue Jackets were just visibly exhausted. They was worn out to the max out there, and understandably so when you consider, again, how many games they played in the last week, how many minutes these guys have been logging in the last week. And that is what ultimately concerns me here with these Blue Jackets, is how will they, bounce back from this? Will they be able to go? Because, that first period, they looked good the first period. They was outrunning, or they was out skating, getting the pucks a lot quicker than Tampa. But that dump and chase game, it was completely irrelevant when they started getting gassed out there. So you wonder how that's gonna, come to fruition in these next few games. I have, full faith that the Blue Jackets can, again, overcome adversity and win games. But how much can you do if you're completely worn down on the ice, right? That is my concern. Honestly, it felt like the Leafs were getting a lot more scoring chances, a lot more high opportune scoring chances. Felt like the Blue Jackets did a better job of keeping Tampa Bay to the sides there. So I think, that's one thing to look at and say, hey, can hang with these guys. Hung with them last year, can hang with them again this year. It's just going to be, can the Blue Jackets overcome this game? Let's hope so. Otherwise, thank you guys for watching, as always, and we'll see you next time.